Time now for the Bob Melvin Show here on A's Cast Live, brought to you by Nest Bedding. Didn't we used to do something like that?
I believe we did, so it definitely rang a bell when you said that.
Do you still have the mattress that I helped you with?
Are you kidding me with the plug-in unit for the phone and all that sort of thing? Are you kidding me? I have it there, and I have it guest room. It's all over the place at my house.
You know, the bottom line is, as much as everybody knows we've grown here on A's Cast and A's Cast Live to become number one in Major League Baseball, you were a big part of that because when we started, it was me leaving the radio station because the team was leaving the radio station, and it was a big kind of jump, and you made sure that you were a part of it, and that meant a lot to us. So our success, especially very early, the fact that you were on board helped us a lot.
I feel like a charter member. So when I put this headset on and you started talking again, it rang some bells and definitely felt very familiar and comfortable.
So we'll retire number 6. That will be one of our – you and the great Sal Bando.
That would be fantastic. I was asking Cody earlier who wore it this year, and he's still looking for that, so maybe it wasn't worn.
You know, we thought about you on that day of the retirement because Sal obviously couldn't be there, but his family was there. We know how much and what Sal meant to you in your career. I'm sure on that day you were thinking about that. Very special. So to have Sal go in, kind of a part of you too, and, of course, number 6.
No doubt about it. And I would have loved to have done a video thing. I wish I would have suggested that because I knew that day. And, you know, obviously with Voos and Lip and the people that were retired there that were so close to me, I've definitely felt it that day and wanted to be a part of it, but obviously I was somewhere else.
Obviously this season, something very, very special. When you go to something new, and you've done that before, and now you got to restart, kind of not easy because of all those years that you had in Oakland and being from the Bay Area. We've talked about all that, but now you come to San Diego, you got to start anew, but boy, what a start. Yeah,
it ended up being a lot of fun. It wasn't easy for us. I've said that often here. You know, we went through a lot this year. There was some drama, which typically happens here a little bit more than maybe when I was in Oakland. But at the end of the day, I think it served us well. It made us battle-tested, and then we go into New York and win 3 games, or 2 out of 3 there. And then the Dodger series here, if you're Southern California and you realize what it meant to this city to beat the Dodgers, especially here in a big series like that. I mean, I can't even explain to you how exciting that was. It was tough to lose that next series against Philadelphia, obviously, but from where the team started the year before and where we ended up last year, I think it was very successful.
Yeah, you think about the way the game of baseball looked at the San Diego Padres before this year, and now here at the winter meetings, how people look at the San Diego Padres. Wouldn't you say night and day?
Well, you know what? When once you're part of it, you just feel kind of who you are. So I would think I'd leave that to people outside that were watching it. But I do feel like that we made some strides this year. We have a lot of really talented players here. We have a fantastic payroll. Our owner spends a ton of money. So I think you should expect to win and you should expect to get into the playoffs. But to be able to have it come to fruition in win a couple series, I think kind of sets the tone for where we expect to be as a team going into next year.
And it's almost like you guys are playing fantasy baseball. Like, who's the top guy? We're in on it. It has to be fun, right? Trey Turner, supposedly, I mean, we can't talk about offers, but supposedly there was talk there. Aaron Judge flew in just to speak with the San Diego Padres. I don't know if you got a chance to talk with him, but what is that like now to be with a team far different than what you had with Oakland, where you always knew you were going to have pieces and you had to make those pieces work? Now you're like, who's at the top of the game? We're potentially making offers.
Yeah, it all started really at the trade deadline when, we made the big trade, and here comes Juan Soto, Brandon Drury, Josh Bell, Josh Hader. I mean, a little different. And, then you get into the winter meetings. We finally get a winter meetings like this again, and then we're on every single guy. I got to meet Aaron Judge yesterday and talk to him for a while. So a little different how – things go in this organization, but still, it shouldn't be the same everywhere, and, it's something you acclimate to.
Now that we know he's going to be a Yankee, you had the talks. Obviously, we saw him Monday Night Football. He's in Tampa. We know he's flying here. No one thought Padres, all right? We're thinking Giants, talk with the Yankees, but then you're hearing – yeah, he's not talking to the Giants. He's not talking to the Yankees. Well, he didn't fly to San Diego I know he's going to Hawaii now for an anniversary, But what were the conversations like with Aaron Judge?
It was pretty extensive. So, whenever I think players, free agents, high-dollar guys look at this team differently now. When you have an owner like Peter Seidler that's going to spend some money, and this really is not considered a big market.
No.
It's just a different dynamic, and being able to, have a shot at these guys certainly feels good. And, if one falls through or two falls through, that's not the end of it.
Manny Machado, if you remember back in our old days, we weren't in love with Manny Machado, the Oakland Athletics, and the Baltimore Orioles. Let's be honest. We had a few run-ins with him. What's different for you now about Manny Machado now that you've managed him versus when you managed against him with the A's?
Well, a lot, but I think he's really developed into really a leader here, a guy that not only the team looks to, the city looks to. He has a place here. There's nobody that does not know who Manny Machado is. And I think as his career progressed, and especially since he's gotten here to San Diego, it's a different look. It's a different guy. It's a different way of playing the game. I mean, the skill set's off the charts and so forth. But, I think even as this year progressed, he turned into a real leader, a guy that would speak up in meetings, and a guy that really this clubhouse looked to for leadership. And boy, he posted up. He played I don't know how many games and how many games hurt, and was second in the National League and in MVP. And in my opinion, I don't know that there was a guy that was more important to any team. So Manny Machado is a different guy that we saw with the whole Josh Donaldson incident.
And I think about you and your star player and your star players. You find a way to have that connection. Obviously, we saw it so many times with Matt Chapman. I know you started doing similar things with Manny Machado. What is it that you understand that, you know what, my stars, they got to be my leaders, and you got to have the right connection with them?
Well, you get a hook in those guys, and they do it a certain way, then everybody has to fall into line. And that's, it's elementary, really. Those are the type of guys that you have to reach and get into leadership roles and go out there and play the game a certain fashion, then everybody else has to. So he was definitely one of those guys.
It was funny when we read about the old Bob Melvin speech, because we know that Bob Melvin doesn't get angry that often, but there's that whole, you had that one speech. We know about that. When finally you get fed up with something, you're going to let it be known. And I don't know exactly how it went down. The media reported that once you had that talk with the team, you were a little frustrated about the offense and scoring runs, that the team took off after that. How did that go down? Was it reported correctly, and what did you do with your ball club?
Well, look, you know what? There are certain times during the season that you have to get the team's attention. We weren't playing very well, and there was a certain night that it just came full circle, and that if we're going to play like this, we're not going to make it to the postseason. So it really more of a credit to the players. After that meeting that night, they got together the next day, and things changed across the board kind of in how we did our pregame and our preparation. Guys were out there for the anthem. They were on the line running. The other team saw maybe a little bit of a different team that was completely engaged and really serious about trying to make a postseason run. So really credit to the players to get together the next game and change things up.
I think about where you guys are right now in this division, because I can tell you our friends over across the bay, they've left San Diego not feeling so hot. The Dodgers still have so many different questions. We talked to Torey Lovello yesterday. Arizona's searching. I mean, if there is one team who, as of right now, it's early, you don't win it in the winter, but you know who you are. Does that feel pretty good that you know who you are, and the other teams right now, they're not quite sure? They got a long way to go. We all have a long way to go. But you've got a good idea who your ball club is.
Well, yeah, and I think that maybe we were looked at a little differently now based on the success that we had this year, and I think that's a good thing. Now, like you said, the Dodgers have the resources to make a lot of moves, and they're going to at some point in time. The Giants have made one, and they're going to make more too. So our division's not going to get any easier. And when you talk about the Diamondbacks, you look at some of the youth and the speed, and now the game's going to be a little different with the bases and the shifting and so forth. I think they've kind of timed this thing for maybe some athleticism that's going to show up a little bit more so this year. So the division's not going to get any easier. We've got those two teams are going to make some moves, but I think we're really focused on our team, and I think, like I said, our team's looked at a little differently now.
When we talk about the rule changes, we'll get MLB.com. They'll put the list out. This is what the rule changes are. You guys have had meetings about the rule changes here. are they going to be more extensive than we know?
Well, it's the nuance of a lot of them. On the surface, you say, okay, as far as the stolen base thing goes, you can only pick over a couple times, and then the third time it would be a balk if he's not out. But there's so much to that, I mean, with the pitch timing now, there are going to be times that you're going to have to buy a little time. Guys aren't going to be used to it. You step off, and now all of a sudden you only have one pick over there. You got guys on first and third, and you don't have any picks left. There's a whole different dynamic with the balk and so forth. So, on the surface, it looks like there's a few rule changes, but I think on the, underneath the surface and nuance, there's going to be a lot that's going to change the game, and it's going to look a little bit differently.
Do you like the pitch clock?
I like the pitch clock. I do like the pitch. I think the game does need to be sped up. It's gotten to a point where, there's just too much downtime with pitchers that take a little bit too long, hitters that don't get in the box and so forth. I do like that dynamic of it. Some of the other things I'm not thrilled with, but you know what? There have been some rule changes before that I wasn't thrilled with, and I kind of became okay with it.
You think shifting will change how you do lineups and acquiring players? Because now it seems left-handed hitters are going to get some more love here. What do you see the difference with shifting?
The part I like about the shifting is, in theory, we'll see how everybody plays it out. I mean, they might move some outfielders around and do things differently, but I don't like the rover out there in right center field. So I'm fine with be fine with how many players on one side of the diamond, and you're going to be able to have more than 4 infielders. If you want to take somebody from the outfield and put them in the infield, you can do that. But I think the thing I like the best about it is there's no softball rover out in right center field taking some of those hits away from the left-handed hitters.
Marcus Semien. How many times did we have Marcus Semien out in right?
We did.
A lot.
We did. And, and you look at that, too. So we had Jay Cronenworth out in right field quite a bit this year. And the year before it was Manny Machado. So I think we took a little off Manny's plate this year because we did some numbers on how many times he had to go run out there into his shift. And this is a guy that plays 162 games, 160 games a year. Over the course of the game, you're talking about 600, 700, 800 yards and having to run out there. So I think we took a little off his plate this year, too, that he was appreciative of. But Jay Cronenworth did a good job doing the Marcus Semien thing out there.
What were your thoughts to your beloved Cal Bears and the Pac-12 when you heard USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten?
I still hope that doesn't happen. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't feel right. I mean, the Pac's the Pac, and it's always been, I'm a little biased. I grew up on the West Coast, and it's really the only conference that I pay any attention to. So without those schools, and it just doesn't feel right. Hopefully something transpires between now and then, and it doesn't happen. If it does, it's kind of a sad day for as big a sports fan as people like myself and you that grew up watching these things, the rivalries with Stanford and the Arizona schools and the Southern California schools. It would be a sad day for me.
It's just not, in October, fall Saturday morning, waking up for that big Rutgers USC or Maryland UCLA game just for some reason doesn't seem right.
Right, and those probably don't get watched as much, certainly in the Bay Area. So, even if it's, you talk about Cal Stanford, whoever Cal plays, whoever Stanford plays, but, a lot of focus on who USC plays and who UCLA plays and the momentum leading up to those games and knowing, okay, Cal's playing UCLA today, and that's going to be the focal part of my day. That would be unfortunate.
Have you checked in on the Cal Hoop program, your beloved Cal Hoops?
Yeah, I have checked in on them. They're going to get a win here pretty soon. Off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think they're pacing themselves.
You still a season ticket holder?
No, I unfortunately not, because I'm just more Arizona now in the off season.
Yeah,
but I follow them for sure.
How is the golf game?
The golf game right now is better than it is during the season. I'm not playing much during the season. Playing a little bit more in the off season now, so my handicap's not too bad right now.
Oh, you are a sandbagger. That is unbelievable. You're not a plus anymore?
No, I'm not a plus, and I'm trying to drive it up even higher than it is right now because I know you're going to come to town pretty soon. You're going to want to play.
Well, it is great to see you. Hope all is well with the family. And obviously we were rooting like you-know-what for you down here. We wanted to see you in the World Series. I mean, that was – to watch your run, I mean, what you do with a baseball team, we understand. We lived it. We saw it. We saw the success that you had in Oakland. We've seen the success that you had at the other places. But this was definitely something that I think you can really build on, and not going to be shocked if next year you're seeing a lot of the same. I know you're going to have big expectations.
But without a doubt. I mean, it just makes you hungrier to get it's awful the season ended the way it did, but I think it made everybody hungry and realize what this team's capable of. So we look forward to getting spring training going.
Happy holidays. The next time we'll see you is in the Valley of the Sun.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. This was a lot going on, and with the winter meetings being here in San Diego, and Darren Feeney, who's in charge of my schedule, made sure, and I wanted to, and I told him we got to get on A's Cast here at some point in time, so I was happy to be able to do it and see you and Cody again, and thank you very much for having me on.
A's fans, the great Bob Melvin right here on A's Cast Live.